It's a new thing that we're doing. Bringing it to ya. When Mr. and Mrs. Dursley woke up on a dull gray Tuesday, our story starts. There was nothing about the cloudy sky outside to suggest that strange and mysterious things would soon be happening all over the country. Mr. Dursley hummed as he picked out his most boring tie for work, and Mrs. Dursley gossiped away happily as she wrestled a screaming Dudley into his high chair. None of them noticed a large tawny owl flutter past the window. At 8:30, Mr. Dursley picked up his briefcase, pecked Mrs. Dursley on the cheek, and tried to kiss Dudley goodbye, but missed because Dudley was now having a tantrum and throwing his cereal at the walls. "Little tyke," chortled Mr. Dursley as he left the house. He got into his car and backed out of number 4's drive. Guys, you ready?
I didn't do anything about like the outline of the chapter because we already know that.
I know, I didn't either. I only did like page by page, but I didn't do like, this is what's happening now. This is what's happening now. Nope. All right, should we start?
I guess so.
Oh my gosh.
What in the world?
I don't know, I feel like I need more chapstick.
What in the wizarding world is happening here?
I have no idea. Accio water. I'm thirsty.
Dude.
I'm scared.
Oh no, don't be scared because guess what, you guys? It's Emily.
And it's Maren.
And this is
Remember Harry Potter! What? Harry Potter?
Harry freaking Potter.
Can you?
The boy who lived.
Oh my gosh.
And everything incredible that goes along with it.
Specifically, the beautiful dynamic of relationships that happen to these characters.
Heck yes.
There's nothing that I care about more.
Me either.
The magic is A+. The way they dress is super cool. Their hair and styles are always awesome. However, it's their relationships and their bonds that make all the difference to me.
Yeah, it's what informs what we do and how we do it and why we do it. And dude, these people make some choices.
You know what is so cool about that is that guess who else makes choices?
Us.
Everybody.
Every single person.
Regular people. More than the magic and more than the world. It's the relationships that change people. Mm-hmm. So I love to talk about those. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to go on this journey.
Yes. To all of our Remember Twilight fans, thank you guys so much for coming over here and joining us on another Remember journey.
It's because of you that we can do this.
Yeah.
We never expected this to happen.
No, but I cannot stop smiling. I'm so happy to be talking about Harry Potter with people who love Harry Potter just as much as we do.
Oh my gosh, I know. I'm really excited because Twilight is not everybody's cup of tea, but Harry Potter is.
Yeah, dude.
Everybody loves Harry Potter, and the people who don't just haven't read it yet.
True.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I'm like, I would love for everybody to go out and share that we're doing a new thing because you already know us and you know how we are and who we are. But if you can tell your friends, like, now they're doing this other thing, we would just love to have more people to interact with.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it is to me.
Totally.
Is expanding our circle of friends.
Why
I
do you
feel very
podcast?
lonely lately.
More friends.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
We've made the most amazing friends in this podcast.
Yeah.
People who we talk to now about normal life instead of just Twilight.
Yeah.
Because we've become legitimate friends, and I'm so happy about that.
Me too. So things are going to happen a little bit differently over here than on Remember Twilight. We're going to do a big overview of the chapter instead of going through it beat by beat, and then we're going to circle back and talk about all the parts that we want to talk about, which are a lot.
I know.
So let's get started. Maren, will you tell us about Chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived?
What happens is we meet Mr. and Mrs. Dursley, and they are boring. And they live the worst life I can imagine. Mm-hmm. They're suburban, normal family. The kid is a total brat. He's completely spoiled. He's their baby. Mom is a stay-at-home mom. Dad works at a drill company.
He's the director of a
He's
drill
a director?
Mr. Dursley. We'll wait till later. I have lots to say about Mr. Dursley.
So do I. So he works at a drill company. He's a director, apparently. They get up. They have their normal annoying morning. He goes to work. on his way to work, he notices some weird things happening, but he kind of just blows them off because he hates weird things. And so he gets to work and he ignores everything all morning. At lunch, he, like, even weirder things happen. Like, somebody hugs him. And he's like, what the crap? Somebody just hugged me. This is weird. He goes back to the office. He goes to call Petunia. And then he decides not to. Because he's like, I don't want to bother her because we don't like weird things, especially Petunia's weird sister. And what he's heard is the name Potter. And that's his sister-in-law's last name. And she was married to this guy named Potter. And they had a little boy, and he was like, well, what was his name? Harold or something. But he definitely heard the name Harry Potter. And then he's like, I'm not going to call Petunia. She'll just freak out. I can't stand that. And so he ends up going home and kind of not telling Petunia about anything. He spends a very quiet night just listening to Petunia complain about the day. So when he finally goes to bed at night, he just can't sleep. You know, he's having a rough night. Switch gears to outside his house. Mm-hmm. This weird cat has been sitting there all day long.
Oh, who is it?
Well, she's beautiful. She's very severe. She's sitting on the wall. She's been sitting there all day. What cat just sits on the wall all day?
No cat.
Right? So all of a sudden, this weird also person shows up at the end of the drive in a pointed hat, and he starts, like, pulling the lights from the light switches. He's pulling lights into a thing. And he walks up and sits next to the cat and starts talking to it, and then looks over, and it's a human. So this dude is Professor Dumbledore, and this cat is Professor McGonagall. And they are a worry. She has been watching these muggles all day, and she knows how terrible they are. He has been drinking all day and partying.
Yes, he's gone to at least 10 parties.
So he's been just partying all day. And he's like, I can't believe you just sat here all day. And she's like, well, listen to me. These people suck. What are we doing here anyway? And he's like, he's like, the Potters died. It's terrible. She starts crying. All of a sudden, there's a sound. It's a motorcycle. It's a giant on a motorcycle holding a baby. He comes in. His name is Hagrid. He shows him the baby. He says, I got the baby before the muggles came. They put the baby on the porch. McGonagall does not want the baby to be left there. It's a terrible decision. Dumbledore says, no, it's the only thing we can do. I'm going to go back to the parties. McGonagall is like, pfft. And Hagrid's like, nope, I got to bring this motorcycle back.
Great recap.
It was kind of long.
I don't know. I don't think it was too long.
Okay.
Just a couple minutes.
All right. Yeah. But that's the gist. That's what happens in this chapter. That's the nuts and bolts, the screws, the nails, the hammers of this chapter. Now,
we got some important key characters that we just met, you guys.
So let's start at page 1 of chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first relationship of Harry's that we learn about.
Mm-hmm.
This is Mr. and Mrs. Dursley and their son, who they love more than anything. Let's talk about the Dursleys for a minute.
The frickin' Dursleys are the most racist, classist, and selfish people, aside from maybe the Blacks or the Malfoys, right?
Yes, they are the Muggle version of those incredibly racist wizard families that we talk about all the time.
Yeah, so
Smart.
When you pair your main character, poor little baby Harry, with people who can be compared to some of the biggest enemies of the overarching story, you're in for a poor little neglected boy.
Yeah, I mean, and he has to live with them his entire... So he's one.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a newborn.
No.
Which, when I first started reading it, I skipped over that. I didn't realize. I thought he was a newborn. No, he is not. He's almost 1.5.
Yes.
Which means he has learned how to talk a little bit. He's definitely walking. He's definitely flying a toy broom around.
Toy broom.
He has firm, loving relationships that he has been built up to. He loves his parents. He's close to them. And now his parents are gone, and we are meeting these people that he has to live with. They are boring, suburban, traditional family. They are the dad works at this boring place. The mom is nosy, and they have this spoiled son, and they also have a big secret. I mean, that's normal.
Yes,
right?
I feel most people have something that they definitely don't want anyone else to know about.
All right, and the more boring somebody is, the probably bigger secret they have. Right?
So you're telling me that normalcy is a great disguise for terrible, terrible things.
That's what I'm telling you.
Interesting.
I feel like the more you look at somebody or a family or an institution and you think that is normal and fine and nothing bad can go wrong, probably they have the biggest secret that they're just trying to keep.
Yep.
And that's what these people are doing.
Totally. So I guess my main point is I never want us to forget that Harry is a child of neglect. He's spent 10 years being mistreated, and that is going to drive a lot of the things that he does.
Yep.
Mr. Dursley.
Ugh.
Do we have to? Actually, I want to start with the house. This is a normal house on a normal street in a normal neighborhood, right? Nothing weird happens here. Whatever. Lies. All freaking lies. They're just hiding the fact that for Harry, number 4 Privet Drive is a prison.
Right.
He's locked away.
Does not, yeah. He gets dropped off on this porch, and McGonagall knows that this is a bad idea. She sat there all day watching them and listening to them. But Dumbledore is like, nope, this is the best thing we can do for this baby. And so he just gets put into this terrible situation.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
So Mr. Dursley, he's very complex, which is something I never really wanted to think about or consider. But now that I'm looking at this with like such a close eyes to like what he's doing and why he's doing it is very, very apparent to me.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that he was the director of the drill company.
He's not someone who is dumb.
I was just like, boring ass Dursley. He goes to work and he's worried about his strange cat. Like, he's paranoid because they're keeping this big secret. He has some major paranoia that he needs to work out. And is that because... is he worried maybe that Dudley is magical? Or could be. And then I was like, Dursley is a gross... we might need to edit this out, but he is a gross, white, male capitalist. He enjoys torturing people. He sits in that office and screams at people all day for fun.
Yeah.
He loves it. It's not even like his job is to manage. He just likes making people feel bad. He isn't even the owner or the boss. He's probably just an awful manager. And then, yeah.
So he is obviously very good at his job. He's a family man. Petunia doesn't work. He provides everything for this family. And he is very, very observant.
Yeah.
He notices and he sees things for exactly what they are, but he deliberately makes the choice to rewrite their meaning into what he wants to maintain his perfect life and everything is normal status.
Sure. And not only does he change the meaning, he changes the meaning and then he throws it in the garbage and pretends like it didn't happen.
Exactly, yeah. Which, just FYI, people, if you can't process and accept new information as fact and you just disregard it to not make yourself uncomfortable or change your cushy life, you are part of the problem.
Yes.
So yeah, he sees this cat reading a map. He sees it for exactly what it is, and immediately he's like, nope, that cat is looking at that map.
Yes.
He sees people on the streets dressed differently, and he doesn't like people who are dressed differently, so they must be fundraising.
Right. This is the worst day of his life. I mean, he is
It really is. It's when everything changes.
He can't stand it. That cat is there. There are owls flying around. There's weird people in weird clothing. They must be just collecting things. This must be a trick. He hears somebody say Harry Potter. He decides it's somebody else named Harry Potter.
Yeah, his name isn't even Harry. It's Harold.
He gets hugged around his middle, which can you imagine him getting hugged? He was like, I'm going to kill that person.
Yeah.
But then instead he's just like, nope, didn't happen. This is Dursley's worst day.
Yeah, absolutely wild. So,
and then he just decides he's going to keep it all from Petunia. Mm-hmm. He's not going to tell her anything that happened.
Yeah, his initial response is to communicate and call her and tell her what's happening, and then decides against it.
Do you think that he doesn't want to alarm her, or that he doesn't want to deal with the freak out that will happen? I think he says he doesn't want to alarm her.
Right.
But I think that deep down he's like, he knows that this is going to cause her to lose her mind for an indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, I'll just pretend like it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Nothing weird happened.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Ugh. You guys.
He doesn't know about normal cat behavior, which in and of itself is a worry to me.
Yeah. Hello. Cats.
I think you should know about cat behavior. But he decides he's going to keep all this stuff from Petunia. Things are too weird. Eventually, he does decide to talk about it to her. He mentions the Forbidden Sister. Mm-hmm. She gets mad about it. He mentions weird stuff was happening. She doesn't want to hear it. He mentions the baby's name, Harry Potter. She hates the baby's name.
Which is so funny because she says it's a nasty common name, which is something that they should love.
I know.
How dare they try to take normal things away from us?
She hates the name. And then he's like, well, okay, I guess we're not talking about it. And that stupid cat is still outside. And then Petunia sleeps like a baby while he stews and frets all night. So yeah, now comes along Dumbledore.
Listen, I'm not going to say that I'm going to single-handedly try to take down the greatest wizard of all time. But, I might. I just might.
Well, okay, so the first thing I noticed about Dumbledore, and this is the first time we've met him in the book.
Yes.
And I tried as hard as I could to come at this from a non-biased view, but it's almost impossible for me because I'm so connected to these characters. And I'm so angry at Dumbledore for many reasons, and it all starts literally right here.
Yeah.
He shows up on the street and he doesn't give a F what all these muggles think of him. He just shows up like, and then he looks over and he sees his favorite cat ever. So here we have his first sneaky dealings of the book. I mean, by all means, this is not the first sneaky thing he's ever done.
No.
Listen, if we, among the years, you will learn of all the sneaks. But he grabs a magical item and he puts out all the lights on the street. And then he's like, now they can't see anything, so I can do whatever I want.
Yep.
That's creepy and sneaky. Man, I just had this immediate feeling we're going to get so many emails about this. That's okay.
It's fine.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So he goes to chill with the cat.
Yeah.
What do you got to say about Dumbledore?
So, remember how I said that normalcy can cover, abuse and bad things?
Yeah.
So can, you said, eccentricity.
Eccentricity.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right, so he has built up this whole image where he's super eccentric.
Yeah, I'm eclectic. I have purple robes, and I have weird glasses, and
the long beard
with the dingles in it.
He's very silly. He eats candy.
He's a buckled boot.
He says funny things to the kids. Yeah. Is he doing that to cover who he is?
Is he or isn't he?
I don't know.
Time will tell. Dumbledore, a little bit more complex than Mr. Dursley, but possibly more abusive, dare I say?
Yeah, and here's the thing that we need to remember about the Dursleys versus Dumbledore. So the Dursleys come at their own personal brand of abuse from a place of fear, and we don't want people to know that this is happening, and we don't want this to be happening to our family. Whereas Dumbledore comes about it from a place of, this will help the wizarding world. So I will put this child in a terrible place, and I've been warned that it's a terrible place, and I didn't look into it myself. I made this decision, and it's going to happen because it will benefit the wizarding world. And he says he doesn't want Harry to grow up as a famous wizard, but given the right guardian, he would have been just fine. For example, McGonagall. She would have been a great guardian to Harry.
At this point, Neville is already living with his grandmother. I think that would have been an awesome place for Harry to grow up.
Oh my gosh, as brothers, right? Neville has been placed with his family, which is what Dumbledore's doing. He just didn't think. He didn't do any research. He didn't even listen to McGonagall when she was like, these people are terrible. He was like, this is where he needs to be.
And all of that set aside, he had 10 years that he could have intervened and changed something that was going on. Not a single person checks in on Harry, as far as I can tell, and if they do, they are a terrible person for leaving him there.
Well, it kind of tracks that they never check in on him, because when he gets his letter to Hogwarts, the letter is just a normal thing that they just send to him. They don't even think to themselves, this might be taken away from him, he might not get it, because they don't know what's going on in his life. Just look away. I'm going to look away like Dumbledore did.
So, we don't know it from the text here, but we know it from our many years of reading and
studying.
Is that Dumbledore needs Harry to live with Petunia specifically in order to fulfill a charm that he has placed upon them because Lily sacrificed herself. I understand that, and I think it's a great use of magic. However, the only real stipulation is that Petunia has to accept him into her life and as part of her family, and he has to go back to that location at least once per year and be able to call it home. We already know that Harry can spend 9 months of a year at school and still maintain this charm.
Not only that, but he can spend 9 months at Hogwarts and 2 months at the Weasleys and only have to go back for long enough for it to be like, well, this is my house.
Yeah.
What a waste.
What a waste.
It cool to have been Hogwarts the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, at the very, very least, you know, Petunia already knows that Dumbledore has done this and that it's because Dumbledore has asked her that she's doing this. There's no reason why, if Dumbledore said, you know, from the time Harry can go to school, I am going to place him in this boarding school for muggles, just a regular boarding school, but that's where he's going to spend most of his year. And he would have been looked after and cared for.
Loved, fed, clothed, cherished. I mean, this whole thing where he's like, I don't want him to grow up knowing that he's famous is so stupid.
It's literally the dumbest thing.
He would have been fine.
Because
he would have been happy.
Yeah, what happens to Harry is he goes to school where everyone else knows, you know, a lot about him and he doesn't know anything. No one thinks to take Harry aside before he goes to school and tell him anything about himself. Give him any information on, you know, other kids might ask you things about these things you don't know. Let me give you a little bit of your personal history. It doesn't happen. No. Hagrid does a very, very, brief overview.
He tries, but he's been told not to, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
It is. So I'm just saying there are many other options and things that could have happened that aren't being left with the Dursleys.
Amen. Hallelujah. So then, are you ready to talk about McGonagall?
Oh, please, can we talk about McGonagall?
Okay, I was so relieved to hear that she's not happy about what's happening. I was like, McGonagall is Grandma Supreme. Is this the first time that Dumbledore has seen her as a cat?
Obviously
not. I feel like screaming about that. I think this is the first time that Dumbledore has seen McGonagall as a cat. Listen, I was very surprised. I couldn't believe this was happening. He looks at her and he chuckles and he goes, I should have known. He finds a thing. He puts all the lights out. He walks over to the cat. He sits down and he goes, "Fancy seeing you here, Professor McGonagall." He turns and the cat is gone. It's Grandma. It's Severe Grandma. She goes, "How did you know it was me?" And he goes, "My dear Professor, I've never seen a cat sit so stiffly." Anyway, so then they have this conversation. But I was like, wait a minute. They have been working together. They have known each other since their 20s, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He has never seen her as a cat before.
Excuse
I couldn't
me?
believe that. Anyway, so that's what happened. He's been drinking and partying all day while she's been sitting on that wall. This tracks. He is much more concerned about appearance and being there in, making a show of control.
Yeah.
And I know what I'm doing. And she is much more concerned with people.
Mm-hmm.
And this, you will see this throughout the entire series. She shows up for the students unflinchingly, while Dumbledore disappears and makes a show of being in control. It's apparent from chapter 1, and I never noticed it before.
Yeah.
But the relationship between these people is, he does what he thinks will make him and the wizarding world look the best, and she cares about these humans that are in her care. They have a small fight because she actually cares about keeping wizardry a secret, and he thinks a little party is fine after all these years of misery. I mean, and also they're making a huge assumption that Voldemort is gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the main reason why Dumbledore is insisting that Harry stay with the Dursleys, but he does not tell McGonagall that.
Yeah.
He's just like, this is the only
No.
family he has. He needs to be with family. Little does she know that he suspects Voldemort is still alive and has done this
Right.
charm.
So here's what I picked out. She sure is doing a lot of the practical thinking around here.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want his muggle candy.
No, gross.
He mansplains, not being afraid of calling Voldy by his name. He does a lot of mansplaining.
That's Dumbledore as a character.
Right? And then he's like, "You flatter me for telling me that I'm not afraid of Voldemort." And then she is like, "Okay, enough of this. Let's get down to what is going on."
Yeah, she has spent one day outside of this house, and she already knows this is not a place to leave anybody.
No.
Ever. And for some reason, when Dumbledore says this is the only family Harry has, he needs to grow up here away from the fame of what happened last night, she says, yes, you're quite right, of course.
Mm-hmm.
How has Dumbledore convinced someone as smart as McGonagall to trust him without really questioning beyond that?
Yeah, it's very, very weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so apparently they were meant to be there. Like, he told her to go there and that he would be there. He shows up 10 hours later,
Mm-hmm.
and she's been there all day. And so she's like, "Why are we supposed to be here?" And this is Dumbledore's second sneaky dealing of the book so far. Just the book again. Harry has to stay with the Dursleys, and McGonagall is appalled. She is angry and explains all the truth about why Harry should not live there, but Dumbledore is certain that Harry must. McGonagall tries to say anything, but then she decides not to.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying, she opens her mouth to say something, and then she's like,
Nope, it's Dumbledore.
then-
Of course he knows best.
right, and this is where we really see the dynamic between Dumbledore and McGonagall here. She questions literally everything he says, and he comes right back with some reason why he's right.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time.
Yeah.
It's really jarring.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because in further in the book they work closely together at the school, but this is the first time that I've realized that they're not friends.
Yeah.
They are not friends. She does not agree with him
Mm-hmm.
on this or anything. And
Yeah.
I was shocked by that when I read through this and was
Yeah.
taking notes. I was like, she does not agree with him.
Yeah, I'm really excited to pay more attention to these two together and
Yeah, it's super
what's
interesting.
going to happen.
And then who shows up?
Oh my goodness.
Hagrid. Oh
Hagrid,
I
the
mean,
sweetest,
honestly,
biggest baby
Emily,
angel.
this is a relationship that I will honor and cherish and defend all of my days.
Me too.
He shows up with Harry.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it.
So,
I'm very emotional.
Yeah, if you listen to our trailer, I say Hagrid is the underrated hero of the story, and Hagrid is only in this chapter just a little bit, but if we read really closely, there is a lot to pick up on.
So much.
From what is mentioned here.
I've got pages.
I have
just Hagrid.
A whole chunk here. So the first thing that we need to remember is that Hagrid is about 30 years older than Harry's parents are. Therefore, he would have been gamekeeper at Hogwarts while they attended.
Not only was he gamekeeper there, so he knew them intimately, but he went to Hogwarts as a student with Tom Riddle, the villain of these books.
Yeah.
I found that so interesting when I first found that out.
I know. I had to do a whole little timeline just to make sure I was getting everything correctly.
Hagrid has come in contact and been like close to everybody that we talk about in the story.
Yeah. He was there when they were at Hogwarts. He obviously kept in contact with them for the few years it has been since they graduated, at least well enough that he would be borrowing Sirius's motorcycle.
Yeah, that's a close relationship.
I wouldn't just give anyone my car to borrow.
No.
Like, they must be at least on really good terms, if not close friends.
In the future, when we get to know the Marauders, which are James, Sirius, Peter, and Remus, Sirius, it makes perfect sense that they would be close with Hagrid because they are troublemakers. They want to know everything about Hogwarts so that they can make their map. They want to be everywhere. And the best person for them to do that and to learn about Hogwarts and to get to know Hogwarts and to get to know what's going on is Hagrid. Because not only does he know everything about the school because he's the gamekeeper, he has lived there since he was a teenager. He lives at the school. He takes care of the school. He takes care of the forest. He takes care of the animals. He is everything to that school. And he's a big sweetheart, and he will tell you whatever you want to know as long as you love him and you're sweet to him. And I guarantee that these 4 boys, the way that they were, the sneakiness that they have, they immediately made friends with Hagrid.
Absolutely.
And I bet they were hanging out in his hut, and they were roughing around with him, and they were doing stuff with him in the forest.
Yeah.
I bet they were such good friends.
Totally. And
that's why it was so important to him to be friends with Harry.
Yes. Yeah, another thing to remember about Hagrid is that Dumbledore tells him things that he doesn't tell anyone else.
Oh, man.
And he has him do all of his more sneaky
He does.
things.
Everybody does this to Hagrid because he's such a trusting lovey.
Yes.
You know?
When it's time to leave Harry, he goes over and he gives him a big kiss, and he starts to cry uncontrollably. So this, to me, means that not only are Hagrid and Sirius still close, but Hagrid is also very close to the Potters.
Well, I'm sure that Lily was the sweetest heart to him. I bet Lily stood up for him so many times when those boys were being brats. I mean, and here's the thing, like, Hagrid, so McGonagall immediately is like, oh no, I don't know if he's the most responsible person, but I know his heart is in the right place. And Dumbledore, as much as we want to, be super critical of Dumbledore, he says, I would trust Hagrid with my life. Like, with my life. And he does.
Yeah.
He would trust Hagrid with everything. Also, Sirius lent him his motorcycle. Oh, his description. I just thought it was important that we read the description in the text
Of
Hagrid. Listen to this. If the motorcycle was huge, it was nothing to the man sitting astride it. He was almost twice as tall as a normal man.
Does that mean 10 feet?
Think of,
in
yes.
height?
Oh, at least.
At
I would
least.
say more like 12. Somewhere between 10 and 12 feet tall. Okay. Also, he is at least 5 times as wide. What does that mean?
He could not sit on this couch.
He's so tall. He's so wide. He looked simply too big to be allowed and so wild. Long tangles of bushy black hair and beard hid most of his face. He had hands the size of trash can lids, and his feet in their leather boots were like baby dolphins. What?
I mean, I don't know how you can't say Hagrid is the best after hearing this.
Excuse me? In his vast, muscular arms, he was holding a bundle of blankets.
Aww.
He is cherishing this baby. Listen to this. Hagrid is the person. He went to the house. He went to Godric's Hollow. He went into this house before the Muggles got there. Now, we know, as readers, that this was at least a little bit of time after Snape was there.
Yes.
Snape came to the house, too.
And he left Harry
and
there.
And he left that baby at the house. So, I am not ready to get into that yet because it hasn't happened in the text. We're not talking about it yet. But Snape was there.
Yeah.
And left. And Hagrid came sometime between Snape leaving and the Muggles coming. What did Hagrid see? Imagine the carnage. He loved these people. He loved the Potters. Hagrid is an honorary member of the Order of the Phoenix. You know, he was there. He was helping. He was doing secret things. He showed up, and what did he see? And of course, you know, then he finds Sirius. Somehow was Sirius there? I don't know. He gets the motorcycle and he takes the baby to the Dursleys because that's what Dumbledore told him to do. He is loyal. He's everything.
Yep.
This is the relationship, you guys. This right here. This is the one. He carries Harry from this devastated house where Harry witnessed the murder of his mother. And he's, like I said, you guys, Harry was not an infant. He saw this happen. He has memories
remembers
of
it.
He has memories. So, yeah. What else about Hagrid?
He's just the best.
You have, okay. I just didn't know if you had anything else specific.
No.
Okay, so here's where we meet the baby. We meet Harry Potter. McGonagall immediately wants to heal the scar. All of these adults are immediately like in protect mode. McGonagall is like, let's heal the scar. Dumbledore is like, no, scars are helpful. This is where we're like, he knows that the scar is not just a scar. Okay, so we'll get there. She worries about someone hearing them, so she wants to protect Harry. Also doesn't want him to stay with the Dursleys. Dumbledore has orchestrated this entire plan in order to save Harry from the pain of growing up famous. What? McGonagall would have been an amazing guardian. To be honest, like give him to McGonagall.
Yeah, McGonagall's married. She has a husband that could take care of Harry when she's at school teaching.
It would be the perfect guardianship. She would have loved, and she loves and cherishes him when he gets back to Hogwarts. There's not 1 second where she's not protecting him. Okay. All three grieve together here while saying goodbye to baby Harry. Dumbledore wants to go join the celebrations. He says good luck to Harry after leaving a note and bundling him up, whatever. Hagrid has seen too much. He's not going to the parties.
No.
He's going to go return the bike to Sirius. And cry for a year. McGonagall is non-committal. She's not going to the parties. I guarantee she's going back to the castle. When Petunia opens the door in the morning, she screams her head off. The words in the text say he would spend the next few weeks being prodded and pinched by his cousin Dudley. All the wizards are toasting him now, and for the rest of wizard history. So that's the chapter. Those are the important relationships that are covered in that chapter.
Yeah.
All of the messy, all of the good, all of the bad, all of the dynamic, all starts right here. That's a crash course in these relationships and what's going to happen.
Totally.
So, anything else that you wanted to say about these guys?
I don't think so.
I could talk for another hour about these relationships.
Totally.
But we will talk about them for the next many years. And I'm here for it. I'm so excited.
Totally. So next week we are going to be back with another chapter. So don't you worry. And
we'll have a lot to talk about.
Oh my gosh, so much more.
We'll choose probably like one specific relationship and we'll kind of talk about it and give overviews, and so.
Yeah, if you guys have anything specific you want to talk about with us,
yeah, I would love that. I would love for this to become like a very interactive podcast, where we are on the weeks where we are not covering a specific chapter, that we are able to answer questions and talk about things that you guys want us to talk about. So please send us anything, any question, any thought you have about these relationships and this amazing story. Yeah. And we would love to cover it and talk about it.
Yeah, let's get in touch. Find us on Instagram. Find us wherever else we are. There'll be a link on our Instagram bio. Get to know us. We would love to get to know you. And let's create something magical together.
Oh my gosh, Emily. I love it. What a great. Let's create something magical together. Okay. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.